The Discovery Captain Marcus Kane had seen plenty of derelict ships in his 23 years patrolling the outer rim, but nothing quite like this. The hulking mass of twisted metal drifted silently through the void, its hull scarred by weapons. Fire that could have torn through battle cruisers like paper. What remained was barely recognizable as a vessel, more like a mechanical carcass picked clean by scavengers. "Sir, we're picking up some strange readings," reported Lieutenant Jenny. Torres from the sensor station. Her usually steady voice carried a note of uncertainty that made Kane's instincts prickle. "The energy signatures don't match anything in our databases." Kane studied the tactical display, noting the way space itself seemed to bend slightly around. "The wreckage. Any signs of life?" "Negative on biologics, but there's definitely something active in there." "Power readings are off the charts, Captain. Whatever's generating that energy, it's not from any known technology." The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's systems. Kane's crew aboard the exploration vessel Prometheus had encountered their fair share of alien artifacts, but this felt different. There was something almost predatory about the way the wreckage seemed to watch them, despite being clearly dead. "Sir," called out Ensign David Park from communications, "I'm detecting a faint signal coming from the wreck." "It's not the distress." "Call more like ... a warning?" Kane raised an eyebrow. "Can you decode it?" "Working on it now, sir. It's in an old Earth military cipher, pre-war encryption. Give me a moment." Park's fingers flew over his console, sweat beading on his forehead. "Despite the cool bridge temperature." "Got it, sir. Message reads, Project Prometheus sealed. Do not approach. Containment breach imminent." God help us all. The irony wasn't lost on Kane that their ship shared the same name as whatever project had created this floating tomb. He'd heard whispers of black projects during the war, experimental weapons that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Most were dismissed as rumors, but looking at the evidence before him, Kane wondered if they'd stumbled onto something far more dangerous than simple salvage. "Captain," Torres spoke up again, her voice tight with concern, "the energy readings are increasing. Whatever's in there, it's responding to our presence." Kane made his decision. "Prepare a boarding party. Full hazmat protocols. I want to know what we're dealing with before that thing decides to wake up completely." "Sir, with respect, regulations state that unknown alien technology should be reported to command before investigation," Torres pointed out. Kane looked at the twisted wreckage again, remembering the warning message. "Lieutenant, something tells me we don't have time for proper channels. If whatever's in there is as dangerous as I think it is, we need to understand it before anyone else finds it." The hunt for answers was about to begin, the airlock sealed behind them with a finality that made Sergeant Patricia Vale's skin crawl. She'd been through dozens of boarding operations, but something about this wreck felt wrong from the moment they'd crossed the threshold. The corridors were too quiet, too clean for a ship that had been drifting dead for who knew how long. "Atmospheres. Breathable," reported Corporal Michael Reeves, checking his scanner. "Oxygen levels are actually higher than normal. It's like the ship's been maintaining life support this whole time." Vale nodded, adjusting her grip on her pulse rifle. Behind her, the rest of the boarding team moved with practiced efficiency. Dr. Rebecca Morrison, their xenarchaeologist, was already taking readings with her portable analysis unit, while tech specialist Lise Vega worked on accessing the ship's computer systems. "Any luck with the logs, Vega?" Vale asked through the comm. "Negative, Sergeant. The main computer's been wiped, but I'm detecting some kind of secondary system. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. The processing power is incredible, but it's not responding to standard interface protocols." Dr. Morrison suddenly froze, her scanner emitting a sharp warning tone. "Everyone stop moving," she said quietly. "We're not alone in here." The team raised their weapons, scanning the empty corridor. The walls were lined with what looked like standard ship systems, but upon closer inspection, Vale could see subtle differences. The metal seemed to shimmer slightly, and there were conduits running along the ceiling that pulsed with a faint blue light. There, Morrison pointed to a section of wall that looked identical to the rest. Something's watching us from behind that panel. Vega approached cautiously, running his scanner over the surface. It's not a panel, he said slowly. It's some kind of organic material disguised to look like ship components. The entire corridor is lined with it. As if responding to his words, the walls began to shift. The metal facade peeled away like skin, revealing a network of tubes and chambers filled with a translucent fluid. Inside the fluid, shapes moved with purpose, too geometric to be natural, but too fluid to be mechanical. Fall back to the airlock, Vale ordered, but even as she spoke, she knew it was too late. The corridor. Behind them had changed, the familiar path now a maze of organic passages that seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. Sergeant, Morrison's voice was barely a whisper. I don't think this is a ship at all. I think we're inside some kind of organism. The implications hit Vale like a physical blow. Whatever the humans had created during the war, it wasn't just a weapon. It was alive, and it had been waiting for them. The weapon's true nature, Dr. Morrison's hands trembled as she studied the readings on her scanner. The organic material surrounding them wasn't just alive, it was learning, adapting, incorporating the ship's technology into its own structure. Every surface they'd thought was metal was actually a sophisticated, biological construct designed to mimic human engineering. This is impossible, she breathed, watching as the walls continued their transformation. The integration between organic and mechanical systems is perfect. It's like the boundaries between biology and technology have been completely erased. Vega was trying to establish contact with the Prometheus, but his communications were being blocked by the organism's interference. Whatever this thing is, it's jamming our signals. We're on our own. The team moved deeper into the creature, following what had once been the ship's main corridor. The organic passages were warm to the touch, and Vale could feel a subtle vibration through the floor, like a massive heartbeat. Bioluminescent strips along the walls provided an eerie blue-green glow that cast dancing shadows as they walked. Look at this, Morrison called out, stopping before what appeared to be a control room. The consoles were still recognizably human in design, but they were now grown rather than built, extruded from the walls like crystalline formations. The organism hasn't just consumed the ship, it's preserved it, maintained it, improved it. As they entered the room, holographic displays flickered to life around them. The images showed star charts, weapon schematics, and what looked like biological blueprints. But most disturbing were the images of human figures being integrated into the organism's structure, their bodies merging with the alien technology. Project Prometheus, Vale read from one of the displays. Biological weapons integration. Test subjects. Volunteers from the 47th Marine Regiment. Morrison's face went pale. They didn't create a weapon. They created a symbiote. It was supposed to enhance human soldiers, make them stronger, faster, more resilient. But something went wrong. The displays shifted, showing the progression of the experiment. At first, the human subjects maintained their individuality while gaining incredible abilities. They could survive in vacuum, regenerate from wounds that should have been fatal, and interface directly with technology. But as the symbiosis deepened, the line between human and alien became increasingly blurred. The final log entry, Vega said, his voice shaking as he read from the display. The subjects are no longer responding to commands. They've become something else entirely. The organism has learned enough from them to survive independently. We're sealing the ship and launching it into deep space. May God forgive us for what we've unleashed." As if responding to the revelation, the room around them began to change. The walls stretched upward, forming a cathedral-like space filled with suspended cocoons. Inside each cocoon, Vale could see the silhouette of a human form, preserved in the organism's embrace. "They're still alive," Morrison whispered, her scanner detecting faint life signs from within the cocoons. "After all these years, they're still alive." The weapon wasn't just a tool of war, it was a promise of evolution, and it was waiting for new hosts. Betwixt the cocoons began to glow brighter as the team approached, and Vale could hear something that chilled her to the bone voices. Faint but unmistakably human, speaking in harmony from within the suspended forms. They weren't screaming in pain or calling for help. They were singing. "The neural integration is complete," Morrison said, her scanner revealing the truth that none of them wanted to acknowledge. "They're not prisoners. They're part of something larger now." One of the cocoons near the center of the chamber began to open, its organic walls peeling back like flower petals. The figure inside was recognizably human, but changed in ways that defied easy description. His skin had a metallic sheen, and his eyes glowed with the same blue-green light as the organism's bioluminescent strips. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that suggested multiple speakers. "Welcome," he said, and Vale recognized the insignia on his partially visible uniform 47th Marine Regiment. "I am Colonel James Harrison, or I was. Now I am something more." "Colonel," Vale stepped forward, her weapon lowered but ready. "We're here to investigate what happened to your ship. Can you tell us about Project Prometheus?" Harrison's transformed features showed something that might have been a smile. "The project was a success beyond our wildest dreams, Sergeant. We sought to create the perfect soldier, and instead we discovered the next stage of human evolution." "At what cost?" Morrison demanded. "You've been absorbed by an alien organism." "Absorbed?" Harrison's laugh was like music played through crystal. "We chose this, Doctor. When we understood what the organism offered, we embraced it willingly. Perfect health, enhanced abilities, collective consciousness, while maintaining individual identity. We became more than human." Vida was recording. Everything, his equipment somehow still functioning despite the organism's interference. "But you're trapped here, isolated from humanity." "Not trapped," Harrison corrected. "Waiting." The organism needed time to understand human nature, to prepare for the next phase. We are the bridge between what humanity is and what it could become. The chamber around them pulsed with renewed energy, and Vale could feel something probing at the edges of her consciousness, not invasive, but curious, like a gentle knock at the door of her mind. "It's offering us a choice," Morrison said suddenly, her eyes wide with wonder. "I can feel it. The organism isn't trying to consume us. It's asking for permission." "Permission for what?" Vale asked, though she was beginning to understand. "To show us what we could become," Harrison answered. "To offer humanity the same gift we received. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, Sergeant. Humanity needs to evolve to survive what's coming." The organism's presence in their minds grew stronger, and suddenly Vale could see visions of the future humanity spreading across the galaxy. No longer limited by the fragility of flesh or the constraints of single consciousness. They would be stronger, faster, more intelligent, and above all, united in purpose. But the choice had to be made freely, and it had to be made now. Evolution's Dawnvale stood at the threshold of the most important decision in human history. The organism's offer hung in the air, like a promise and a threat combined. She could feel her team's uncertainty, their fear warring with curiosity about what lay beyond the boundaries of human limitation. "Show me," she said finally, stepping forward toward Harrison and the glowing cocoons. "Show me what humanity could become." Harrison nodded, and the chamber transformed around them. The walls became transparent, revealing the organism's true scope. It wasn't just inhabiting the ship's hull. It had become something far larger, its tendrils extending into dimensions that human eyes couldn't fully perceive. The organism originates from a species that faced extinction, Harrison explained, as the visions flowed through Vale's mind. They chose symbiosis over death, merging with other life forms to preserve their essence while enhancing their hosts. We are not the first, but we could be the greatest. Morrison stepped forward, her scientific mind overwhelmed by the implications. The evolutionary leap would be instantaneous. Humanity wouldn't need generations to adapt to space travel, hostile environments, or contact with alien species. We could become something capable of thriving anywhere in the galaxy. But we'd still be human? Vega asked, his voice filled with hope and terror. Human, but unlimited, Harrison confirmed. Your personalities, your memories, your individuality, all preserved and enhanced, but connected to something greater, part of a collective consciousness that spans worlds. The organism's presence in their minds grew stronger, and Vale could feel the weight of choice pressing down on her. She was just a sergeant, but somehow she knew that her decision would echo through history. If we refuse, she asked, then we remain as we are, Harrison said sadly. And humanity continues its slow struggle toward an uncertain future. But know this, the galaxy is not empty, and not all the intelligences out there are friendly. Without evolution, humanity may not survive first contact with true galactic powers. Vale thought of the billions of humans spread across dozens of colonies, all vulnerable, all limited by biology and physics. Then she thought of what they could become: explorers of infinite space, builders of impossible wonders, protectors of life itself. We'll take volunteers, she decided. No one will be forced. But those who choose to evolve will become ambassadors for this new path. Harrison's transformed face showed genuine joy. The organism agrees. It will establish a presence on your ship, offering the choice to any who wish to take it. The transformation is gradual, allowing time for adjustment and acceptance. As they prepared to return to the Prometheus, Vale felt the organism's tendrils gently touch her mind once more. In that contact, she saw the future a galaxy where humanity had transcended its limitations, where human ingenuity and determination had been amplified beyond imagining. The broken hull hadn't contained a weapon at all. It had contained humanity's future, waiting patiently for the right moment to emerge. And now, as the first volunteers began their transformation, that future was finally beginning. The age of enhanced humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.